Here's a question chip designers ask on almost every project. Can I make this faster without burning more power? The answer lies in something called multi-VT standard cells, and understanding them will change how you think about every logic gate in design. In this video, we'll unpack what threshold voltage actually is, walk through the 3 cell flavors every standard cell library ships with, and show you exactly how designers use them to fix timing violations without blowing up their power budget. Let's start with the physics. So before we talk about cell libraries, we need to nail one concept: threshold voltage, or VT. Threshold voltage is simply the gate voltage needed to flip a transistor from on to off. Think of it like a light switch with variable stiffness. A low threshold voltage is a stiff switch that flips easily. The transistor turns on with less voltage, pulls more current, and switches faster. But here's the catch: a low VT transistor doesn't fully shut off. It leaks current when it's supposed to be idle. A high threshold voltage is a stiff switch in the opposite sense. It takes more voltage to turn on, so it switches slowly. But when it's off, it's really off. Leakage current drops dramatically. That single trade-off, speed versus leakage, is why standard cell libraries don't just give you one version of every gate. They give you 3. So the 3 types you'll encounter in virtually every modern library are LVT, SVT, and HVT: low, standard, and high threshold voltage. LVT cells are the sports cars of the library. Fastest switching, but they burn the most leakage power. Use them where you absolutely need speed. SVT cells are the daily drivers, a sensible balance of speed and power. Most of your chip will start here. HVT cells are a fuel efficient option. They're slow, but their leakage is minimal. Perfect for logic that doesn't sit on the critical timing path. The key insight: same logic function, 3 different timing and power profiles. A NAND gate is a NAND gate, but which flavor you pick changes everything downstream. Let's put numbers on that. Take a simple NAND 2 gate. In a representative library, the LVT version might switch in around 35 picoseconds. Swap in the SVT version and you're looking at 50 picoseconds, about 40% slower. Step up to the HVT version and that climbs to 70 picoseconds, twice the delay of the LVT. The same logical function, a 2x spread in delay just from changing the threshold voltage. And the leakage power penalty runs in the other direction. LVT leaks the most, HVT leaks the less. We'll quantify that in a moment. This 2x delay window is exactly what gives designers room to maneuver when paths fail timing. So how does this play out in practice? Imagine a timing path that's been implemented with HVT cells to keep the leakage low. After placement and routing, additional wire delay pushes the path over its setup timing limit. The path is now critical. It's failing. The cleanest fix before touching the netlist or the floor plan is a VT swap. Replace the HVT cells on that path with LVT equivalents. The logic doesn't change, the footprint doesn't change, but the path delay drops, and setup slack goes from negative to positive. The trade-off is real though. You've accepted higher leakage on those cells. That's the deal. And it's why you apply this technique surgically only on the paths that actually need it. Let's walk through a concrete example. Consider a path from flip-flop FF1 through a NAND 2 gate, an inverter, and a NOR gate, arriving at flip-flop 2. In the initial implementation, the NAND 2 and inverter are both HVT and the NOR is SVT. Their individual delays are 70 picoseconds, 50 picoseconds, and 60 picoseconds respectively. Add those up along with the launch flip-flop clock to Q delay, and you already have a substantial total. Now sprinkle in some wire delay from routing, and this path is a setup violation candidate. This is exactly the kind of path that shows up on your worst negative slack report after the first sign-off run. Let's do the timing arithmetic. Assume a 400 picoseconds clock period and a 70 picosecond setup time at the capture flip-flop. That gives a required arrival time of 330 picoseconds. The data must settle before the clock edge minus setup time. Now, under nominal conditions, the path delay, launch FF plus land plus inverter plus NOR, adds up to 260 picoseconds, a healthy positive slack. But after detailed routing introduces real wire delays, that arrival time can creep up to 340 picoseconds. Now the data arrives after the required time. Setup slack goes negative. You have a violation. The clock didn't change, the logic didn't change. The wire just added enough delay to push the path over the edge. This is extremely common in real designs. So here's the fix in action. Replace the HVT NAND2 with its LVT equivalent. Delay drops from 70 to 40 picoseconds. Replace the HVT inverter with LVT. Delay drops from 50 picoseconds to 30 picoseconds. The NOR gate is SVT. It has timing slack to spare, so we leave it alone. So total path delay after the swap is now 80 plus 40 plus 30 plus 60, which is 210 picoseconds. That's comfortably below the 330 picosecond required time. Setup slack is restored. Notice what we didn't do. We didn't restructure the logic, resize gates, or touch the flow plan. Just 2 cell swaps. Problem solved. At the cost of higher leakage on those 2 cells. Now for the cost side of the ledger. Low BT transistors can't fully shut off, so they leak continuously, even when the chip is sitting idle doing nothing. This is static power and it adds up fast. A representative comparison, if HVT is your baseline at 1x, SVT leaks roughly 3x or 3 times more than the HVT, and the LVT cells can leak 8 times more than HVT. 8 times. That's not a rounding error. That's a real power budget problem if you're not careful. If every cell on the chip were LVT, your static power would be enormous. Battery life would plummet. Thermal management would become a nightmare. This is why the rule exists. LVT cells go only on critical paths. Everywhere else, HVT keeps leakage in check. So what does a real chip's VT mix actually look like? In practice, the distribution tends to settle around 60 to 80% HVT cells, the bulk of logic where leakage matters more than raw speed, 15 to 30% of SVT cells, moderate speed paths that need a bit more performance, and only 5 to 10% LVT cells, the critical paths where timing budget is razor thin. Think of it like a city's transportation network. Most roads are ordinary streets, perfectly adequate for most traffic. A few roads get upgraded to highways where throughput really matters. Almost nothing gets the Autobahn treatment. The good news is EDA tools handle this automatically. You don't manually label every cell. The tool analyzes timing paths and assigns the right VT type to meet your goals. Here's how the automated flow works. Step 1. Initial synthesis builds the design using SVT cells, a sensible starting point. Step 2. Static timing analysis runs and identifies which paths are critical and which have comfortable slack. Step 3. The optimizer swaps cells on failing paths to LVT, reducing the delay. Step 4. Cells on critical paths, the ones with large positive slack, get converted to HVT to claw back leakage savings. The result is a design where timing is met and leakage is minimized simultaneously, without the designer manually touching every cell. This is one of the highest leverage optimizations in the synthesis flow. One important wrinkle: VT optimization doesn't happen in vacuum. Cell delays vary not just with threshold voltage, but with process voltage and temperature, the PVT corners. A low VT cell that blazes at 30 picoseconds in the fast corner might slow to 50 picoseconds or more under worst case process and high temperature. This means you can't just optimize for nominal conditions and call it done. The design must be verified across all PVT corners, and an LVT cell that solves a timing problem at nominal might still be marginal at the slow corner. That is why static timing analysis must be run across all corners, not just the typical case. Multi-VT optimization is powerful, but it doesn't eliminate the need for corner analysis. Timing closure in real designs rarely happens in one shot. It's a progressive, iterative process. A typical journey might look like this. After initial synthesis, 126 picoseconds of worst slack. The design is fading significantly. Apply gate sizing, stronger drive cells on critical paths, slack improves to minus 60 picoseconds. Better but still failing. Apply VT swaps. LVT on the worst paths, slack jumps to minus 10 picoseconds. Almost there. Add buffer insertion to reduce wire delay on the last stubborn path. Slack reaches plus 15 picoseconds. Timing closure achieved. Notice how each technique contributes a different amount. VT swapping is rarely the only tool, but it's often the most efficient one. It doesn't change area, just the cell type. That makes it the first things most tools try after gate sizing. It's worth stepping back and seeing the big picture. Every timing optimization decision lives inside a three-way tension: performance, power, and area. Push hard on performance, use LVT everywhere, add big buffers, and power and area pay the price. Optimize aggressively for low leakage, HVT everywhere, for example, and performance suffers. There is no free lunch, but multi-VT libraries give you a fine-grained dial rather than a binary switch. Instead of choosing between fast but power hungry and power efficient but slow, you can make the trade-off cell by cell, path by path. That is the real power of multi-VT design. Surgical precision in navigating the performance power area triangle. Let's bring it home. Standard cell libraries give you three threshold voltage options: LVT, fastest switching, highest leakage; SVT, balanced performance and power; and HVT, which is slowest switching and lowest leakage. The design strategy is asymmetric by intent. Use HVT as your default. It covers 60 to 80% of a typical chip. And reserve LVT for the critical paths that genuinely need the speed boost. EDA tools automate the assignment, running STA to identify which paths need LVT and which can tolerate HVT. But understanding what the tool is doing and why is what separates engineers who can debug timing closure from those who can just run scripts and hope. Next up, we'll look at how all of this fits into the broader sign-off flow.